the heck are you then?
I'm Hannah Malcolm. I'm a student at Cambridge University.
And what are you studying?
I'm studying medieval history and literature.
Excellent, excellent. Is the church relevant to the 21st century?
Yes, I think the church is relevant to every century. I think one of the most wonderful things about the Christian gospel is its relevance to all people in all places at all times. Whether or not we are making it relevant is a different question.
What about do you have any non-Christian friends, non-Christian student friends?
Yes, I have lots of them. Generally they approach Christianity with a sort of sense of academic irritation with it. They don't feel that it is
relevant,
or I mean, a lot of the time they get frustrated with what they see as a very dogmatic or bigoted view of the world, which they see in Christians in the media.
Okay, so the church then is only relevant to Christians because non-Christians don't give two hoots about it.
Well, sadly that is the way that it often comes across. I wish that weren't the case. It would be fantastic to see a church which was willing to engage with people where they are. I think often we answer questions that aren't being asked, whether those are academic questions or whether or not those are questions of social importance. It's very easy for us to make it not relevant to non-Christians.
So how do we make it relevant?
I think, it's really important that we start answering questions that are actually being asked, that we listen more, that we are prepared to be more humble and more engaged, to remember that we are redeemed sinners, just like they are, which is something that is very easy to lose sight of.
What kind of questions do you think are being asked that we're not answering?
I think particularly with academic questions, we are now in an age which is postmodern, and so perspectives on the world have changed dramatically in the last 50 years, and we are still answering questions that were asked in the 20th century. They aren't questions that are relevant to the 21st postmodern century, where the world is relativistic and we are failing to address that properly.
Do you think it's only postmodern in Cambridge, the rest of the country is pagan?
Well, I think the postmodernism, whether or not you understand that that's your perspective on the world, still is quite prevalent across the country. If you think about the approach, particularly of young people, speaking from my own perspective, the approach of young people, that there isn't any particular meaning or right or wrong, that there's no kind of moral guidance they should follow, that they're free to do whatever they want. That's the root of that is a relativistic postmodern society.
What about the Bible? Is the Bible of any interest to people who aren't Christians, to these postmodern pilgrims?
Well, I don't think it is, but it should be, and I think one of the things we've really lost in the church, in attempting maybe to fit into a 21st century view of the world, we have lost focus on the Bible because we're trying to make the gospel more acceptable, more appealing to the world, but at the same time we're losing the heart of it, which is God's love for all people and his willing sacrifice. And so if we aren't preaching the Bible and we're not being fully reliant and confident in the power of the Word of God, then people's hearts aren't going to be changed.
It doesn't sound, though, as though you can be preaching the pure gospel and relevant to postmodern society. It sounds like a contradiction.
Well, I think that's where the power of God comes in. Certainly we do need to be addressing people from an academic or philosophical perspective, challenging the inconsistencies of a post-modernistic society, but also if we do have confidence in the power of the Word of God and we're willing to preach the gospel simply and clearly, and we have faith in God's power to change hearts, then change will happen.
What about preaching? Is preaching dead?
Well, it's easy to kind of think that, particularly if you read and listen to the sort of the great preachers of our church history, particularly in Britain. We've had some wonderful preachers over the centuries who have done wonders for the gospel. I think it's a discipline that has to be learnt, and I think that preachers do need to take on the issues that are at hand in this country and be willing to address them. The church is largely responsible for the fact that's not happening, I think.
Are you suggesting modern-day preachers are numpties?
I think some of them are. By no means all of them. I know some really wonderful preachers who are very honest and faithful to the Word of God, and who are also willing to challenge themselves, which is very important. It's very easy as a Christian, particularly a Christian who is engaged academically or intellectually, to feel as though you have all the answers or that you are beyond question or refute, which is sometimes an issue.
Okay, what do you think is the biggest problem with Britain?
I think the biggest problem with Britain is the biggest problem with the world, that we live in a broken world, and a world which has turned away from God. I think that will be the problem wherever you go. It's not just Britain. Britain in particular has lost Christian heritage that it once had, which is very sad. But again, like the rest of the world, the thing that Britain most needs to hear is the gospel. And the solution to a broken Britain is a change of heart.
Thank you, Hannah, for this interview, and God bless you.